The atmosphere at Manchester City is heavy with tension. The club, so accustomed to living through days of glory under Pep Guardiola, now faces a turbulent moment that threatens to shake its confidence. The season has begun with unexpected setbacks, and the supporters, always demanding, are already showing impatience. As if that were not enough, fate decided to play a cruel trick. One of their most promising talents suffered a serious injury right on the eve of the most symbolic fixture in English football, the derby against Manchester United. The scenario is dramatic. City had already lost 2 of their opening 3 Premier League matches, something unthinkable for a squad full of stars. Every dropped point weighs heavily, and if this negative run continues, their chances of fighting for the title could be seriously compromised. That is why the clash with United takes on even greater significance. Playing at home at the Etihad Stadium ought to be an advantage, but it also brings extra pressure. The fans will accept nothing less than an immediate response, a convincing victory that erases the poor first impression. There is another factor that makes this contest even more special. Since Ruben Amorim took charge of Manchester United, City have not managed to defeat their rivals. This record bothers Guardiola and his players, who see the derby as the perfect opportunity to change the narrative. However, the news that Taha Ayari has suffered a muscle injury, with an estimated absence of up to 2 months, hit the dressing room like a bomb. The youngster had been making steady progress within the squad and could have been an important option for this duel. As if that were not enough, the situation regarding Mahmoud Marmoush Hassan is also a cause for concern. The Egyptian forward, known for his audacity, he even went so far as to claim he is superior to Mohamed Salah, left the pitch limping after a knock while representing his national team against Burkina Faso. He lasted only 10 minutes before feeling severe pain and requesting to be substituted. Now, his presence in the derby is uncertain. Guardiola, always in search of creative solutions, will have to improvise and rethink his attacking options. Among the possible replacements, Jeremy Doku appears as the natural choice. The Belgian is in fine form, having scored twice for his national side, and after starting the last City matches on the bench, he is hungry for a starring role. His pace and ability to unsettle opponents one-on-one make him a valuable weapon to break down United's lines. Another alternative is Oscar Bob, usually deployed on the right flank, but who has already shown he can play on the left as well, as demonstrated by his goal against Newcastle. Beyond them, there is the possibility of using Savio, who has only recently returned to training. The young Brazilian is regarded as a gem waiting to be polished, and Pep may opt to give him a chance to shine in a match of such magnitude. In this case, the team could line up with Bob on the left and Savio on the right, giving City width and freshness. Regardless of the choice, one thing is certain: City cannot afford to make mistakes in their lineup if they wish to emerge victorious in the most anticipated game of the early season. While the immediate focus is on the derby, behind the scenes the club is already working on another front that could redefine their future. According to specialist reports, Manchester City are leading the race to sign Rodrigo Goes, currently at Real Madrid. The deal is far from straightforward. Arsenal, a direct rival, recently attempted to pounce, but Guardiola seems determined to bring the Brazilian to the Etihad. Real would reportedly be open to offers in the region of $70 million, a figure City would have no difficulty meeting. Rodrigo is a player who fits perfectly into Guardiola's style of football. Quick, skillful, and highly versatile, he can operate in several attacking roles. It is no coincidence that Luka Modric has already described him as a true rising star. The Spanish coach sees in him not just quality reinforcement, but also someone who could raise City's attacking threat to an even higher level. The obstacle, of course, lies in the financial package. To persuade the Brazilian to leave Madrid, it will be necessary to offer a salary comparable to the highest earners in the squad, something that may require internal adjustments. Should the signing indeed materialize, Rodrigo would become not only another lethal weapon in City's front line, but also one of the faces of the Premier League in the years to come. Guardiola regards him as the ideal profile for a long-term project. Young, yet already experienced in major competitions, ready to take on a leading role in a team that is never content merely to compete for trophies. It wants to win them again and again. As speculation about Rodrigo gains momentum, another name is beginning to circulate in the corridors of the Etihad Stadium: Adam Wharton. The young English midfielder, a revelation at Crystal Palace, has been attracting attention since 2024 and is already seen as a priority target for Manchester City in the near future. This is not just a fleeting rumor. Sources close to the club confirm that Txiki Begiristain, the Citizens' sporting director, is closely monitoring Wharton's every step, convinced that the youngster's talent could bear fruit for more than a decade. This strategy is nothing new. City have a habit of planning reinforcements years in advance. It was the same with Matheus Nunes, who was tracked for 12 long months before being signed. Now, the same pattern is repeating with Wharton. The board's plan is clear: prepare the ground for 2026, when the European market could undergo yet another revolution. Competition will be fierce, with Real Madrid also joining the race, but Guardiola believes that, under his guidance, Wharton could reach even greater heights, forming a solid foundation for the club's midfield. This move, however, touches on a delicate issue: the future of Rodri. The Spaniard, regarded by Guardiola as irreplaceable, has been the subject of interest from Real Madrid. Behind the scenes, there is a certain fear that he could give in to the desire to return to his homeland, should City fail to remain at the very top of European football. The board's #1 priority is to renew Rodri's contract beyond 2027. If they succeed in keeping the heartbeat of the team while also bringing in Wharton as his natural successor, the Citizens would be safeguarded to dominate the Premier League for years to come. Guardiola's concerns, however, are not limited to the transfer market. He is also keeping an eye on the immediate schedule. After the derby against United, the team will have to face a grueling sequence with decisive Champions League clashes and tricky fixtures in the Premier League. Every injured player, every unexpected absence could prove costly. That is why the recovery of Marmoush and the performances of young prospects such as Doku, Bob, and Savio could determine the course of the season. City cannot afford to waste talents that are ready to shine. Meanwhile, outside the Etihad, another piece of news is shaking up the club's plans: the arrival of Ange Postecoglou at Nottingham Forest. The Australian coach replaces Nuno Espirito Santo and brings with him a reputation for turning ordinary players into key figures. His track record at Tottenham speaks for itself. Under his guidance, James Maddison and Dejan Kulusevski reached impressive levels. Now taking charge of Forest, Postecoglou encounters James McAtee, a midfielder developed at Manchester City and only recently sold. The McAtee case is emblematic. Just like Cole Palmer, who left City and flourished at Chelsea, the young Englishman could become yet another story of regret for Guardiola. Palmer has already shown that he could have had a place in City's rotation, but chose to leave in search of a starring role. McAtee is following a similar path, and with a manager who specializes in polishing creative midfielders, his rise seems only a matter of time. For City, this situation raises uncomfortable reflections. Could the haste in selling young talent prove costly in the future? Guardiola, who values versatile and intelligent players, knows that McAtee had the potential to grow within the Etihad. Now he will watch from afar to see if his bet at Forest pays off. To add to the tension, the clash between the two clubs is scheduled for December. Should McAtee shine against City, questions about the decision to let him go will be inevitable. Back to the present, Guardiola faces a dilemma: how to reorganize a squad weakened by injuries while also keeping the fire alive in the dressing room. He has already made it clear in interviews that he will not tolerate dips in performance, but he has also shown faith in the youngsters. For Pep, there is no age when it comes to playing for City, only the ability to execute the game plan. That is why Doku, Bob, and Savio could take on central roles sooner than anticipated. The pressure is immense, but it is precisely in such moments that the manager reveals his genius. The derby, therefore, is far more than just another match. It symbolizes a turning point. Winning would erase the turbulent start, reaffirm the squad's strength, and silence the critics who are already beginning to emerge in the English press. Losing, on the other hand, would plunge the club into a storm of doubts, with questions about the transfer market, Pep's decisions, and even the future of certain stars. Amid so much uncertainty, one thing remains constant: Manchester City's ambition. The club is not content with being just another competitor. It wants to set the rules, command respect, and build a legacy that will outlast generations. To achieve this, it must triumph on the pitch, but also be ruthless off it, securing strategic signings and keeping its pillars in place. Guardiola knows there is no room for complacency. Every detail matters. The backdrop of this story is the Premier League, a competition that does not forgive slip-ups. Unlike other European leagues, where the hegemony of one team can last for years, England is relentless. Just a sequence of stumbles is enough for a favorite to see its title chances evaporate. Manchester City know this better than anyone, having been both the protagonist of great comebacks and the target of fierce chases. Now, with an unstable start to the season, they once again feel the pressure to prove they are still the giant to be beaten. The fans, long accustomed to celebrating almost annual triumphs, are not willing to accept excuses. Guardiola's speech about trusting the youngsters is well received by part of the fan base, but another section demands immediate results. There is a clear contrast. While some see Doku, Bob, and Savio as the new generation capable of sustaining the hegemony, others fear that youth will bring inconsistency in decisive moments. And nothing is more decisive than a derby against United. In addition, the psychological factor weighs heavily. The fact that Ruben Amorim has maintained his unbeaten run against City adds an extra layer of pressure. The Portuguese manager, who quickly established himself at Old Trafford, has become something of a thorn in Guardiola's side. With each encounter, the narrative grows that Amorim knows how to neutralize City, something that directly affects Pep's pride, given his obsession with controlling every aspect of the game. This managerial rivalry could shape the course of the derby. But while the ball is yet to roll, attention is also drawn to the transfer market. The name of Rodrigo Goes continues to echo through the corridors of the Etihad. The prospect of seeing him don the sky blue shirt is not merely a tabloid rumor, it is a concrete plan. Guardiola sees in the Brazilian a player ready to transform City's attack, capable of providing the depth that has been lacking at crucial moments in recent seasons. More than that, it would be a symbolic blow against Arsenal, a direct rival who had already tried to sign him. Arsenal, under the command of Mikel Arteta, have been growing season after season. A former Guardiola assistant, Arteta knows City's inner workings like few others, which makes the contest all the more intriguing. Each negotiation between the two clubs carries an element of revenge, almost like a private duel between master and disciple. If City manage to outmaneuver Arsenal to bring in Rodrigo, the message will be clear. Supremacy in Manchester may be under threat, but national dominance remains firmly in their hands. On this chessboard, Real Madrid play an ambiguous role. On the one hand, they could be the key to releasing Rodrigo, since a $70 million proposal would be enough to open negotiations. On the other hand, they pose a direct threat to the future of Rodri, the heartbeat of City's midfield. Should the Spaniard accept a return to his homeland, Guardiola would lose an irreplaceable piece, someone who balances defense and attack with rare natural ease. This is why his contract renewal is treated as an absolute priority. Without Rodri, the whole system crumbles. Meanwhile, Ange Postecoglou's shadow looms over City's plans. His arrival at Nottingham Forest may seem irrelevant at first glance, but the effects run deeper. The Australian coach has a track record of troubling Guardiola, and his footballing philosophy can draw the maximum out of underestimated players. James McAtee may be the next name to explode, which would leave a bitter taste in Manchester. If Cole Palmer already serves as a painful reminder, McAtee could be confirmation that City must rethink their policy of selling young talents. This debate over homegrown players is a sensitive issue. Despite having one of the strongest academies in the country, City often prefer to cash in on their youngsters rather than integrate them into the first team. The justification is simple. The pressure for immediate results demands ready-made players, not long-term projects. Yet with each talent shining elsewhere, the sense grows that City may be sacrificing their future in the name of the present. Guardiola tries to balance this scale, but his decisions are not always popular. In the end, City find themselves at a crossroads. On one side, they must deal with the turbulent present: injuries, fan pressure, strengthened rivals, and a derby that could define the season's direction. On the other, they must think of the future: retaining Rodri, securing strategic reinforcements such as Rodrigo and Wharton, and avoiding regrets over youngsters who could become stars far from Manchester. Every decision carries double weight, both immediate and long-term. And it is precisely this balance between the now and the tomorrow that makes Manchester City such a fascinating case. The club is not merely a team in search of victories, but a machine that must function in synchrony on and off the pitch. Guardiola knows his legacy is on the line, and that is why every detail, from the lineup in the derby to the negotiation of multi-million-pound contracts, can determine whether City remain at the center of the footballing world or make way for new protagonists. Thus, amid unexpected injuries, rumors of multi-million-pound transfers, and the pressure of a derby that could change the course of the season, Manchester City find themselves facing one of the most challenging moments in recent years. What is at stake is not just a result, but the affirmation of a project accustomed to dominating England and Europe. Guardiola, his players, and the entire club structure know that every detail counts, on and off the pitch. Now, I want to hear from you. Will City manage to overcome these adversities and get back to winning ways? Or could this turbulence mark the beginning of a new phase of uncertainty? Share your opinion in the comments, because your voice is a vital part of this debate. If you've made it this far, it's a sign you live football with the same passion as we do. So don't forget, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and activate notifications. That way, you won't miss any updates about the greatest team in the Premier League, and you'll always stay informed about everything happening in the world of football.